What if I told you that the very thing holding you back from peace, clarity, and purpose wasn't out there in the world, but hidden inside your own mind? You've followed the rules. You've tried to be good. You've looked for answers in religion, in politics, in people, and yet something still feels off. That feeling of disconnection. It's not random. It's a sign that you've been quietly living under a kind of consciousness slavery where external systems shape your inner world without you even realizing it. You seek approval. You chase success. You search for salvation in things outside of yourself, all while being cut off from the very source of your power. You are already connected to God, but the noise of the world has trained you to forget. And that forgetfulness is what blocks your spiritual growth. In this video, we're going to break that illusion. We'll explore what God really is, how imagination becomes the bridge to divine creation, and how remembering your true self could change everything. If you're ready to awaken, stay with me, and if it's your first time here, don't forget to like and subscribe, because this is just the beginning. They don't realize that within them already exists a powerful connection to God, or whatever you choose to call that sacred energy that breathes life into all things. And so the question arises, what is God really? Is there a way to know this connection is real? That's exactly what we'll explore in this video. If it's your first time here, don't forget to like and subscribe, so you don't miss our latest content on spiritual awakening, inner truth, and timeless philosophical insight. Let's begin with this simple yet impossible idea. God isn't a frequency. God isn't a thing. God simply is. The real challenge isn't in finding God, but in understanding that our minds were never designed to fully comprehend something so vast, so infinite, so beyond all concepts. Human language, thought, and perception are incredibly limited, and yet we try using words, metaphors, and symbols to describe the indescribable. As the Hermetic teachings remind us, God is not something the human mind can truly understand. God exists beyond understanding, beyond form, beyond explanation. God simply is. This truth is not just philosophical. It's experiential. Imagine a moment of deep meditation, a moment when you are not thinking, not seeing, not hearing, a moment when your mind becomes utterly still. In that silence, you do not vanish. You remain. You are. That awareness, that silent being, is what mystics often describe as the presence, the all. It is not a thing, not a person, not even an idea. It's the formless awareness from which everything arises, a sacred void, a living nothingness that holds the potential for all creation. It's from this silent source that infinite possibilities emerge. The universe, time, consciousness, love, thought, form. This is the paradox of existence, that from nothing comes everything. Now, why do we sometimes refer to God as a frequency? The answer is simple. It's a bridge, a way to help us grasp something so abstract by using concepts we can relate to. Everything that exists, every object, every thought, every feeling vibrates. Everything is energy. Every form is held together by an invisible frequency. That's what Nikola Tesla meant when he said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." If we truly understand this, we begin to see that all things seen and unseen are made of the same essence, the source, the void, the divine. Some, like Dolores Cannon, describe this source as pure stillness. Others, like David Icke, call it light or love, but no matter what words we use, void, light, love, the truth remains. It is from this source that all life emerges. According to the Kabbalah, the entire world we experience is a dream within the mind of the All. Reality itself is a divine imagination, eternally unfolding, never-ending. It's not chaos. It's not random. It's intentional. Thought becomes form. Spirit becomes matter. And behind it all is the unchanging presence, the all that dreams it into being. And though we may never define it completely, we are part of it. Always.
We may not be able to define the indefinable with precision, but we can begin to understand the divine method behind all creation, and that method is imagination. The source, what some call infinite consciousness or God, creates through thought, through imagination, whether it's by light love or sheer will. Every aspect of existence begins as an idea, a spark in the vast mind of the all. This is the heart of manifestation and also the foundation of authentic spiritual growth, which always begins in the unseen. But here's the most empowering truth. Imagination isn't reserved for the divine alone. It's also within us. Just as the all imagines and gives birth to worlds, we too carry the ability to imagine and to create. The real question is, can we align ourselves with that same creative force? Our connection to the source is not distant. It's not locked away in a temple or in the sky or behind the veil of some secret knowledge. It's alive within you. When your thoughts and imagination align with the flow of universal consciousness, you awaken a creative power that is vast, vibrant, and real. Nikola Tesla once hinted at this mystery when he said, "If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. You are not separate from this energy. You are an expression of it." So where do we fit into this endless unfolding of reality? We are the presence of God at the point where we stand a truth that, when deeply realized, becomes the catalyst for profound spiritual growth. We are the individualized expressions of the all-tiny yet powerful sparks of consciousness, each one capable of awakening and expanding. The more we become aware of this truth, the more access we gain to the creative essence of life itself. This is why you can shape your world. This is why your imagination matters. Neville Goddard, one of the great spiritual teachers of the 20th century, once said that whatever dominates your attention will begin to take shape in your life. What you focus on, you energize. And what you energize, you begin to manifest. The key, think purely as the all thinks without fear, without contradiction. But as humans, we often wrestle with doubt. Our divided intentions weaken our power. Our uncertainty creates resistance. Still, the seed of divine imagination is alive in you, and it can grow. With practice, with faith, with intention, you can cultivate the ability to create in harmony with the will of the all. And when many people come together with unified purpose, that collective power becomes exponentially stronger. It's the same energy that can start wars or bring about peace. What we imagine together, we create together. Whether that creation heals or harms, uplifts or destroys, depends on the awareness behind it. Here's the deeper truth. God meets you at the level of your expectation. That's why it's futile to give God a fixed shape. Throughout history, humanity has created thousands of images of God. Sometimes a man with a beard, sometimes a burning bush, sometimes pure light or sacred darkness. Every image reflects a projection of the human mind trying to comprehend the infinite. And those who believe in a specific image of God do experience that version because, in essence, it is the version they themselves have created. As Neville Goddard boldly said, "Your imagination is your God. What you believe, what you imagine, what you expect. These shape not only your world, but your experience of the divine itself." It's not about worshiping an external power.
It's about realizing that power flows through you. This principle is echoed even in the mysterious world of esoteric magic. In the 19th century book Liber Chaos by Peter J. Carroll, the author explains that magic isn't about the ritual, it's about the mind of the magician. If the magician can impress their subconscious with a clear, focused intention, reality begins to shift. They don't need candles or chants. What matters is the clarity of vision and the depth of belief. This is the same principle behind manifestation, behind prayer, behind spiritual healing. The magician creates by imagining. Just like the all now, let's look at this through a historical lens. Imagine a group of ancient people praying to a pagan god for rain. Desperate, they might even perform a sacrifice, believing it would earn the god's favor. To the modern mind, this may seem barbaric, but the deeper question is, why did such rituals persist for centuries? The answer is not in the ritual itself, but in the belief behind it. It's not that some external god responded to the offering, it's that the people's collective intention, their emotional intensity, their shared expectation activated a force that could bring change. It was never the act. It was the belief. It's not the god itself that responds. It's the collective imagination and belief of the people that gives that god power. When they sacrifice a child, it's not an external deity acting out its will. It's the people's deep-rooted belief, centuries, sometimes millennia, of cultural conditioning that imbues the ritual with meaning and force. That belief system becomes so powerful, it creates a reality that feels absolutely true to those who live within it. This reveals a profound spiritual truth. The version of God you carry in your mind is the right one for you. Your relationship with the divine will always mirror your inner world. It will reflect your current level of consciousness, your emotional state, your upbringing, your culture, and the beliefs you've come to hold. Dear people encounter God in intensely personal ways. Some discover Him through Christianity, others through Islam, Hinduism, or Buddhism. There are those who say their religion saved their life, and for them that's true because the divine they encountered was the one their imagination and faith were prepared to receive. That's why I previously said, every definition of God carries a shadow of ego. Whenever we attempt to describe or define God, we are, whether we realize it or not, projecting our human limitations, our desires, and our fears onto something infinite. We shape the image of God in our own likeness, assigning divine attributes that echo our values and personalities. This is not wrong. It's natural, but it may not capture the true essence of what God really is. If you study the gods of different faiths throughout history, you'll notice a common pattern. They're all deeply humanized. They feel jealousy, rage, compassion, joy. Even when we speak of unconditional love, we often do so through a lens of human experience, imagining that divine love functions like the best parts of earthly love. But here's the deeper truth. Divine love, too, comes at a price. Whether that price is devotion, discipline, surrender, or even sacrifice, there is always a transformation required to receive it. Still, no matter how we conceptualize the divine, the relationship you have with God will always respond to you in the language of your expectation. The infinite source, the all meets you exactly where you are, not in judgment, but in reflection. Your God will evolve as you evolve. Your image of God will grow more expansive, more mysterious, and more luminous as your understanding of self and the universe deepens. You are not just a seeker, you are a spark of the divine, an individualization of the all, and your thoughts, your beliefs, your intentions. They are not just responses to reality, they create reality. You are helping move the game of creation forward moment by moment. That's why, as we journey through this spiritual awakening, we are not passive recipients. We are co-creators. The more we align with divine will, the universal flow, the more fully we can access the infinite potential already within us. Our imagination is not separate from the divine. It is the divine expressing itself through you. When you recognize this truth, your role in the cosmos becomes clearer. You are here to contribute your unique thread of light to the living tapestry of the universe. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean that every deity or spiritual being from the past was just a figment of human imagination. Reality is far more layered and complex than mere illusion. This brings us to a fascinating concept: the cargo cult. I won't go into full detail here, but I've included a link in the video description if you'd like to explore it more deeply. The idea is simple, yet powerful. A cargo cult arises when a technologically advanced civilization comes into contact with a more primitive one. The advanced beings arrive with tools, machines, and knowledge far beyond what the locals have ever seen. And naturally, the locals interpret these strangers as God's divine beings, fulfilling ancient prophecies, bringing hope, abundance, or salvation. There are real historical examples of this. In some remote island cultures, the arrival of European explorers was interpreted as the return of divine messengers, the fulfillment of messianic prophecy. The strangers weren't just visitors. They were seen as gods come to end suffering. Sound familiar? Now apply this idea to our understanding of history and religion. Could it be that some gods and angels, some miracles and visitations were in fact encounters with advanced beings, beings whose presence overwhelmed early human consciousness and led to deification? Hinduism speaks of blue-skinned beings flying in celestial crafts called vimanas. The Bible describes the Nephilim, mighty ones who descended to earth. Ancient texts across the globe are filled with stories of sky chariots, glowing messengers' voices from the heavens. What if these weren't just myths? The Sumerian tablets speak of the Anunnaki, mysterious beings believed to have descended from the heavens. The Quran tells us of jinn and angels, including Gabriel, a messenger between worlds. These aren't just isolated myths, they form a pattern that hints at the presence of intelligences beyond our current comprehension. Beings who may have interacted with humanity, influenced our evolution, and were eventually enshrined as gods in our stories. There is more than enough evidence, both historical and experiential, to suggest that advanced civilizations or non-human entities may have walked this earth long before our current age. And perhaps they still do. Whether they came as teachers, observers, or manipulators, the impact they left behind is etched into the fabric of human consciousness. But here's the deeper truth. Not everything in existence is born of human imagination. There are real forces, benevolent, malevolent, and everything in between, that may be operating behind the veil of what we call reality forces that have shaped our religions, our myths, and our inner knowing. You see them in every sacred text, in ancient carvings, in dreams passed down for generations. Some of these beings came to uplift us. Others may have come with darker motives. Take Yeshua Jesus. Was he just a man? Was he from another realm, from a higher dimension? The debate, in the end, misses the point. What matters most is that Yeshua was a transcendent teacher, a luminous soul who carried divine wisdom and awakened countless others. And because of this, he was deified, raised not just as a man, but as a bridge between heaven and earth. This is the key. The stories we hold dear about gods, angels, miracles, they may or may not be literal, but they carry transformational power. And that power shapes how we perceive life, truth, and ourselves.
If we open our minds to the idea that not all deities originated from our own psyche, we begin to see reality as far more expansive. We unlock the possibility that higher beings, advanced civilizations, or unseen energies may have shaped not only our past, but also the consciousness we now inhabit. And whether they were beings of light or shadows, their fingerprints remain woven into the soul of humanity. This brings us to a powerful realization. Our perception of reality is not fixed. It is malleable. The takeaway is simple, but profound. The infinite creative force responds not to your words, but to your frequency. Your vibrational state of being is the signal you send into the fabric of existence. That is what the divine responds to. Dr. David R. Hawkins explored this concept in depth in his groundbreaking book, Power versus Force. In it, he presents a vibrational map of human consciousness, charting how different emotional states from shame and fear to love and enlightenment correlate with specific frequencies. The higher your emotional vibration, the closer you align with divine intelligence. If you're interested in diving deeper, I highly recommend Power versus Force. It's dense, but incredibly enlightening. If you're short on time, there's a concise version available on Shortform, a platform that distills powerful nonfiction into digestible summaries. They offer one-page recaps and audio versions that can give you the core teachings of a book in just minutes. I've linked it in the description below. It's not a sponsored mention, but signing up through our link helps support this channel and our continued mission to awaken collective consciousness. Now returning to the heart of the message, the all does not respond to what you say. It responds to who you are being. Your dominant emotional frequency, whether it's fear, joy, resentment, or gratitude, is the invitation you extend to the universe. And the universe always answers your beliefs, when deeply felt shape your state of being, and that inner shift is what fuels your spiritual growth. And your state of being becomes your creative power. You are not separate from the all. You are a mirror of it, and the life you experience is a reflection of what you believe you are worthy of receiving. Whatever you deeply believe, the all will mirror it back into your life. You're not merely in your reality, you are your reality. You are the awareness of the all localized at the point where you exist. In that sense, your human imagination is God, as Neville Goddard so powerfully expressed. Even modern science is beginning to support what mystics have long taught. Quantum physics now challenges the old deterministic model of the universe and opens the door to a probabilistic reality. A multiverse of infinite outcomes, infinite timelines, and infinite versions of you. This means that if you change your inner reality, you don't just feel better. You literally shift into a different version of the world that matches your new vibrational state. This shift is subtle, but real. The outer world rearranges itself to reflect the frequency of your consciousness. That's why so many in the law of assumption community remind us circumstances do not matter. What matters is your focus, your dominant state of being, and the assumptions you hold about reality. At your core, you are not flesh and bone, you are energy, a dynamic field of consciousness vibrating at a specific frequency. And as that frequency shifts, so too does the world you encounter. Magic is not superstition, it's alignment. If you create rituals and truly believe in them, they will work. You can even engage with darker forces if that's where your belief lies, and those forces will respond accordingly. There is no inherent power in the blood of an owl, but there is power in the belief of the black magician. The subconscious mind, when deeply impressed, does not distinguish between ritual and reality. It simply responds to the energetic message being sent. This is why religions heal, and why spiritual practices transform lives, as Dr. Joseph Murphy wrote in The Power of the Subconscious Mind.
It is not the religious form that brings healing. It is the belief of the individual that taps into the divine. When your inner state matches the frequency of healing, wholeness, or abundance, the all responds, and reality shifts to accommodate it. This is the sacred key. You are a co-creator of your reality. When you change your internal state, the external world reorganizes around your new vibration, but here's the warning. So long as we live through the lens of the ego, believing in separation, division, and control, we will continue to manifest chaos, suffering, and illusion. We create hell on earth by forgetting who we truly are. And that brings us to a deep and troubling question. Why would an all-loving God allow the seed of evil to exist within us? Some researchers and spiritual thinkers suggest that our minds have been tampered with, possibly hijacked by outside forces to create this sense of separation. One such theory is the Anunnaki theory, which posits that these ancient beings may have engineered a psychological or genetic split in our awareness to disconnect us from the divine. Another view proposed by Dolores Cannon sees Earth as a kind of spiritual school, a realm where souls incarnate to learn to purge karma and to prepare for higher worlds. In this school, the veil of forgetting is essential. We arrive here not knowing who we are, where we came from, or why we're here. This spiritual amnesia is not punishment. It's part of the design. Most religious traditions echo this idea that Earth is temporary, a place of testing, growth, and awakenings. All these theories point to the same truth. When we enter this world, we forget our true nature. Unless we are born into a family of awakened souls, we remain unaware of the divine light within us. This is where the seed of evil begins. Not as some dark curse, but as the inevitable consequence of separation. Once we perceive ourselves as isolated individuals, we start to live in fear, division, and survival consciousness. We see the world as us versus them. We live through the ego, but I believe this separation is intentional. As Neville Goddard said, God became man so that man may yes become God. To have a genuine human experience, you must forget your divinity. A rock must forget that it is made of stardust in order to fully experience being a rock. This forgetting, this veil of illusion, is what makes creation meaningful. Without it, there would be no story, no struggle, no growth. Life would be predictable, mechanical, and empty. Yet this very veil, when left unchallenged, becomes dangerous. Unconscious beings, those trapped in ego, can commit acts of cruelty, war, and unspeakable evil. Not because they are inherently bad, but because they are disconnected from their source. The all in its infinite love allows for every possibility, light and shadow, good and evil, joy and suffering, so that each soul may awaken by choice, not by force. This is the cost of free will. People don't often choose evil because they are inherently evil. More often they choose it because they are disconnected from their divine self. They lack awareness of who they truly are, the eternal I Am that lives beyond the ego. And this is a crucial distinction. So long as we live through the ego and not from our divine center, evil will persist. The ego is the seed of evil. It breeds separation, pride, conflict, fear, and suffering. But paradoxically, this too seems to be part of the design. In God's infinite wisdom, separation was allowed not to punish us, but to teach us, to give us the raw, immersive experience of being human, of forgetting who we are, so that we might one day remember. In the grand scheme of things, evil becomes a catalyst. It's the friction that sharpens the soul and propels the seeker into deeper spiritual growth. It offers contrast. It challenges us to awaken, to grow, and to transcend the illusions of the ego. As long as we cling to the ego's point of view, we will continue to meet pain and division. But when we begin to connect with our divine essence, when we see beyond the illusion of separation, the healing begins within ourselves and in the world around us. The journey back to the divine is not about becoming something new. It's about remembering who you've always been. God is not found in the noise of the mind. God is present when the mind is absent. This is the teaching of many sages, including Arta, who reminds us that the divine is always there, just behind your thoughts. Ever present, ever still. But while we live dominated by the ego, our mental chatter, our identities, our fears, we lose sight of that quiet presence. God's essence is not loud. It is the void, a sacred emptiness that is full of potential. It's the space beyond thought, beyond control, beyond identity. To access this divine presence, we don't need to strive. We need to be still. Here's a simple way to begin. Sit down in a quiet, distraction-free space. Dim the lights. Put on noise-canceling headphones. If you have them, begin to breathe slowly and deeply. Let your body relax completely. Release the tension in your shoulders, your chest, your hands. And then, just observe. Watch your thoughts, but don't follow them. Allow them to slow until they eventually fade. And then something beautiful begins to happen. You may feel as if you're floating, as if you've entered a weightless realm. This is the void state, the sacred emptiness where stillness becomes the birthplace of real spiritual growth. This is the space that spiritual masters, mystics, and magicians throughout history have sought to enter. It is pure presence untouched by ego, untouched by fear. It is the space Neville Goddard referred to as the state akin to sleep. Why is this state so important? Because in it, your imagination is unchained. Whatever you envision here begins to take form in your waking life. You become the conscious architect of your reality. This is not fantasy, it's a science of consciousness. It's the same altered state the CIA explored through remote viewing, where individuals accessed other dimensions or distant locations simply by focusing the mind. It's the same state where astral travel, out-of-body experiences, and access to the Akashic records become possible, the realm that holds all memory and knowledge. This is also what Dr. Joe Dispenza describes in his work on miraculous healing. When you reach this state of no mind, the body begins to repair. Cells respond. The blueprint of the soul begins to realign. It is the same state sought by magicians who clear the mind to open the channel between the conscious and the unseen. And it is the same space Dr. Stephen Greer teaches people to access during CE5 protocols, a practice to connect with higher dimensional beings and extraterrestrial intelligence. This void state is not emptiness. It is infinite potential. It is the God state. It is the stillness that precedes creation. It is where you become nothing, only to then become everything. And in this space, some report feeling a love so vast, so unconditional, it defies human language. This is the same love people describe during near-death experiences, a profound expansion of awareness, the sense of being one with all things, and the unshakable knowing that they are not alone. To experience God in your daily life, you don't need to wait for death. You need to practice entering this state while alive. When you do, you become autotelic, self-motivated, self-generating, spiritually aligned. You begin to live in flow, guided by intuition, nudged by inspiration, receiving messages not with your ears but with your heart. It's the same state elite athletes call the zone, where the body moves effortlessly, the mind quiets, and time seems to stand still. In that state, what some call the zone, you are fully aligned with the present moment. You're not thinking, you're being. And in that stillness, you touch the divine. This flow state is more than just focus. It is sacred connection. It is the moment where you are operating at your highest potential, completely open to inspiration, healing, and boundless creativity. And when you practice entering the void state, you don't just find peace. You begin to feel the presence of God moving through your life. You start to realize that miracles aren't rare. They are natural outcomes of living in harmony with your divine essence. When you align with that essence, when you return to the stillness that's always been within you, manifest your desires not with struggle, but with effortless clarity. You create not from fear, but from love. You heal not from force, but from flow. And then the greatest revelation arrives. God is not outside of you. God is within, and has always been. The only barrier is the voice of the ego, the noise, the fear, the distraction. When you quiet that noise, when you let yourself simply be, you meet the God within. And in that encounter, you begin to become who you truly are. But let's speak plainly. For centuries, you've been told otherwise. Religions, political systems, and power structures have conditioned humanity to believe that salvation lies outside the self. They've indoctrinated you to see yourself as small, as powerless, as someone who must earn divine favor. They tell you what to believe, how to act, who to follow. They feed you endless dopamine from entertainment, distraction, and fear, so that your vibration stays low, so that you never ask the deeper questions, so that you remain compliant. Because once you awaken to the truth of who you are, you cannot be controlled. You will stop begging, you will stop following, and you will start walking your own path. And that's what they fear most. The moment you stop outsourcing your connection to God is the moment spiritual slavery ends. This knowledge, this awareness is the first key to freedom. But knowledge alone is not enough. This is just the beginning. Now you must walk the path. Some may ask, if this truth is so powerful, why is it allowed to be shared here on YouTube? The answer is simple. They don't believe you'll listen. They trust the strength of their programming, the years of conditioning and distraction. But truth always finds its way. And it only takes one courageous heart to ignite a chain reaction of awakening. So if your soul feels stirred, follow it. If something inside you says, "This is what I've been missing," then this message was for you here on this channel. We are building more than videos. We are building a new map of reality. Together, we are asking the questions, how does this world really work? Who are we? Why are we here? What happens when we die? And how do we return home? If these questions matter to you, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. If this video awakened something in you, please like and share it with someone you care about. And when you're ready, explore more videos on this channel. We've only just begun. Until next time, stay awake, stay grounded, and remember, you are far more powerful than you've been told.